The warning lights flashed red across the control room of Station 7. Commander Velcon stared at the screens with growing fear. Something big was coming through space near the edge of their territory. Something very big. "Show me the readings." Again, Velcon ordered his crew. He was a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms. His people, the Veltar, had ruled this part of space for thousands of years. The young officer at the scanner station pressed buttons with shaking hands. "Sir, the energy readings are off our charts. Whatever is coming through is bigger than our largest warships." Velcon's stomach twisted. The Galactic Council controlled everything in this galaxy. They had the best ships, the best weapons, the best technology. No one could challenge them. No one had ever tried, but these readings showed something impossible. Space, twisted and bent near the terminus system. Energy crackled like lightning between the stars. Then, slowly, a shape began to appear. The ship that came through was enormous. It was longer than 3 Council battleships placed end to end. Its hull was black metal covered in scars and burn marks. Strange symbols were painted on its sides in white letters that no one could read. "Get me Admiral Zexhai right now, Velcon," whispered Dot. Within minutes, the Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. Zexhai was older than Velcon, with scars on his face from many battles. His yellow eyes were cold and hard. "What is this about, Commander?" the Admiral asked. "Sir, an unknown ship has entered our space. It's massive. Our computers cannot identify it." Admiral Zexhai leaned forward. "Show me." The image switched to show the mysterious black ship floating in space. It moved slowly, like a sleeping giant. No lights flashed on its surface. No signals came from it. It just waited. The Admiral was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke in a low voice. "How many ships like this are there?" "Just one, sir. But, sir, look at these energy readings." The Admiral studied the numbers. His face grew pale. "This single ship has more power than our entire fleet." Across the galaxy, other stations began reporting the same thing. The mysterious ship was sending out scanning beams, studying everything around it, but it did not attack. It did not threaten anyone. It simply watched and learned. On the councils, main world emergency meetings began. The leaders of different alien races gathered in the Great Hall. The Nexari were small gray beings who loved to trade. The Etherians looked like floating jellyfish made of light. The Korthax were huge, with shells like beetles. They all had the same question. Where did this ship come from? No species in our. "Records can build something like this," said High Counselor Nexus, leader of the Nexari. "We have explored this entire galaxy. We know every race that exists." "Perhaps it came from outside our galaxy," suggested an Etherian, its voice like singing. Crystal's Admiral Zexhai stood before the council. "We must act quickly. If this species can build one ship like this, they might have more. We should destroy it before it becomes a threat." "Wait," said Counselor Nexus. "We should try to talk to them first. Maybe they have technology we can trade." 4. While the council argued, the mysterious ship continued its scans. It studied their star charts, their ship designs, their communication frequencies. It learned their languages by listening to their radio signals. Then, without warning, it sent a message. The message came in perfect galactic standard, the common language used by all council species. Every ship and station in the area received it at the same time. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earth Ship Defiance. We are human beings from a distant part of space. We seek safe passage to the galactic core. We have no quarrel with you." The words were spoken by a female voice, calm and clear, but they sent shockwaves through the council. "Humans?" Admiral Zexhai repeated. "There are no humans in our records. We have never heard of Earth." Emergency meetings were called on every council world. Scientists studied the message, trying to understand how these humans had learned their language so quickly. Military leaders argued about whether to attack or negotiate, but one thing was clear to everyone. This ship was not like anything they had ever seen. The Defiance hung in space like a dark sword. Its weapon ports were closed, but everyone could see they were there. Huge gun barrels hidden behind metal doors. Missile launchers the size of buildings. Shield generators that hummed. With power. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of her ship, looking out at the stars. She was a small woman with short brown hair and tired eyes. She wore a simple blue uniform with no fancy decorations. Behind her, her crew worked at their stations. They were all human, but they looked different from what the aliens might expect. Some had metal parts replacing lost limbs. Others had scars that told stories of terrible battles. All of them moved with the careful precision of trained warriors. "Captain," said her first officer, a tall man named Commander Chun, "we're receiving multiple transmission requests from the alien fleet." Elena nodded. "Let them wait a little longer. What do our scans tell us about their technology?" "Primitive, Captain. Very primitive. Their ships are big and slow. Their weapons are basic energy beams and simple missiles. Their shields are weak." Elena smiled sadly. These aliens reminded her of how humans used to be, long ago, before the war changed everything. "And their society?" she asked. "Classic galactic empire structure. Multiple species under the control of a ruling council. They use fear and superior technology to maintain order. Most of their subject races appear to be enslaved or controlled." Elena walked to the front of the bridge and looked out at the alien ships gathering around them. There were hundreds now, with more arriving every hour. They thought their numbers would intimidate her. They did not know that the Defiance had fought against enemies that could destroy entire star systems. They did not know that humanity had learned to survive against impossible odds. "Captain," Chun said quietly, "they outnumber us 1,000 to 1. Alana's smile grew colder. "Then it's a fair fight." She turned to her communications officer. "Open a channel to their admiral. It's time we had a conversation." Admiral Zexhai's face appeared on the main screen. He tried to look stern and commanding, but Elena could see the fear in his eyes. "I am Admiral Zexhai of the Veltar Empire," he announced. "You will surrender your ship immediately and submit to council authority." Elena looked at him calmly. "Admiral, I told you already. We seek safe passage. We have no quarrel with you or your council. You have entered our space without permission. Your ship is a threat to galactic security. Surrender now, or we will destroy you." Elena was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke in a voice that was soft but filled with steel. "Admiral, you should know that my ship has been scanning yours for the past 6 hours. We know exactly how your weapons work, how your shields function, and how your engines operate. If you attack us, we will defend ourselves. And if we defend ourselves, your fleet will cease to exist." The Admiral's face turned red with anger. "You dare threaten the might of the Galactic Council?" "I'm not threatening anyone," Elena replied. "I'm simply telling you the truth. Now, would you prefer to discuss this like civilized beings, or shall we demonstrate the difference between our technologies?" Around the bridge of the Defiance, her crew prepared for battle. Weapons powered up silently. Shields strengthened to full power. Fighter craft prepared to launch. But Elena hoped it would not come to that. Not yet. There were things these aliens needed to learn first. Things about what humanity had become, and what was coming for all of them. In the darkness between stars, something else stirred. Something that had been following humanity's trail across the galaxy. Something hungry. The real war was still far away. But it was coming. 3 days passed before Admiral Zex-High agreed to meet with Captain Vasquez. During those 3 days, more council ships arrived until the space around the Defiance was filled with warships. But the human ship did not move. It waited like a patient predator. Captain Elena Vasquez prepared for the meeting in her small quarters aboard the Defiance. She put on her best uniform and checked her equipment one last time. Hidden in her clothes were tiny devices that would record everything and send information back to her ship. "Are you sure about this, Captain?" Commander Chon asked. He stood in the doorway, worry clear on his face. "This could be a trap," Elena smiled. "Of course it's a trap, Chon, but they don't know what kind of trap they're walking into." She walked to the shuttle bay where a small human craft waited. The shuttle was sleek and fast, nothing like the big, slow ships the aliens used. As it flew toward the Council flagship, Elena studied the enemy vessels through her window. The Hegemony's Pride was huge, almost as long as the Defiance, but much wider. Its hull was white and gold, decorated with symbols of power and conquest. Hundreds of smaller ships surrounded it like guards protecting their king. Elena's shuttle landed in the alien ship's docking bay. As she stepped out, she was surrounded by alien soldiers. The Veltar were tall and strong, with blue skin and yellow eyes. They carried energy weapons and wore heavy armor. "Follow us," one soldier ordered in a harsh voice. Elena walked calmly. Between them, her hands empty and visible, but her eyes recorded everything. The layout of the ship, the type of weapons the guards carried, the weak points in their armor. Information flowed back to the Defiance through the tiny transmitters in her clothes. The meeting room was designed to intimidate visitors. It was enormous, with a ceiling so high it disappeared in shadows. The council leaders sat on raised platforms, looking down at where Elena would stand. Bright lights shone in her eyes while their faces remained in darkness. Admiral Zex-High sat in the center, flanked by representatives of the other major races. To his left was High Counselor Nexus of the Nexari, a small gray being with large black eyes. To his right floated an Etherian, its jellyfish-like body glowing with soft colors. "Captain Vasquez," Admiral Zex-High began, his voice echoing in the vast room. "You stand before the rulers of this galaxy. We have governed these stars for thousands of years. Every species, every world, every ship obeys our commands." Elena looked up at them without fear. "That's very impressive, Admiral. But I'm not here to join your empire. I just want safe passage for my people, your people." High Counselor Nexus leaned forward. "How many ships do you have? How many worlds do you control?" Elena was quiet for a moment, as if deciding how much to tell them. "We have enough ships to protect ourselves. As for worlds, we lost our worlds long ago." This was partly true. Earth was gone, along with all the human colonies. But Elena did not tell them why or how. "Lost your worlds?" The Etherian's voice sounded like singing wind. "To war? To plague? To natural disaster?" "To something you cannot imagine," Elena replied softly. "Something that eats entire star systems for food." The council members looked at each other. Admiral Zex-High's eyes narrowed. "You speak in riddles, human. If you want our help, you must tell us the truth." Elena reached into her pocket slowly, making sure the guards could see her movements. She pulled out a small device, no bigger than her thumb. "This is a medical scanner," she said. "One of our basic tools. High Counselor Nexus, you have been suffering from a disease in your blood for many years. Your doctors cannot cure it." Nexus jumped back in surprise. "How do you know this?" "Our medical records are secret. Our scanners are very good," Elena said simply. She placed the device on the table between them. "This scanner can cure your disease in minutes. It will rebuild the damaged cells in your blood and make you healthy again. She looked around at all the council members. We humans are good at fixing broken things. We have had a lot of practice. Admiral Zexhai gestured to his guards. This could be a weapon. A poison. A trick. Elena shrugged. High Counselor Nexus. Can test it on a volunteer first. Or he can continue to die slowly from his blood disease. His choice. Nexus stared at the small device for a long time. Finally, he called for his personal doctor, a Nexuri medical expert who examined the human scanner with various instruments. It appears to be genuine medical technology, the doctor reported. More advanced than anything we have seen. If it works, as she claims, try it, Nexus ordered. The doctor activated the device and aimed it at a guard who had agreed to volunteer. The guard was missing one finger from an old injury. A soft blue light emerged from the scanner and touched the guard's hand. Everyone watched in amazement as the missing finger slowly grew back. In just 5 minutes, the guard had a complete hand again, with no scars or marks to show it had ever been damaged. The room fell silent. Impossible, whispered Admiral ZEX_HA. Elena picked up the scanner and offered it to Nexus. Your turn, High Counselor. With shaking hands, Nexus allowed the device to scan his blood. The blue light flowed through his body for several minutes. When it finished, he stood straighter than he had in years. His gray skin had a healthy color it had lacked for decades. The pain is gone, he whispered. For the first time in 30 years, the pain is gone. Elena put the scanner back in her pocket. We have many such devices. We can grow new limbs for injured soldiers. We can cure diseases that your doctors consider impossible. We can repair damage that would normally kill. She paused and looked at each council member. But these are just our basic medical tools. We have much more advanced technology. Admiral Zexhai tried to regain control of the meeting. What do you want in exchange for this technology? Safe passage, Elena repeated. And perhaps trade agreements. We are explorers and builders, not conquerors. Where are you trying to go? Asked the Etherean. The galactic core. There are things there we need to study. This was true, but not the whole truth. The galactic core contained ancient technology that might help humanity in their war against the Devourers. But Elena did not mention the DEVOURERS. High Counselor Nexus spoke up. Perhaps we can arrange something. Your medical technology alone would be worth billions of credits. We don't want your money, Elena said. We want information. Star charts, cultural databases, historical records. We want to understand this galaxy and its people. Admiral Zexhai's eyes grew suspicious. Why do you need our historical records? What are you really looking for? Elena met his gaze steadily. Admiral, my people have traveled a very long way to get here. We have seen things that would terrify you. We have fought enemies that your worst nightmares cannot imagine. All we want is to find a place where we can rest and rebuild. She reached into another pocket and pulled out a small crystal cube. This contains some of our star charts. Places we have been, things we have seen. Consider it a gift. The Etherean extended a tentacle and touched the crystal. Immediately, its body flashed with bright colors as it processed the information inside. Impossible, it gasped. These charts show galaxies millions of light years away. Stellar phenomena we have never seen. Technology signatures that should not exist. Elena nodded. We have traveled very far and learned much, but we are tired of running. We want to settle down and live in peace. Admiral Zexhai stood up, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of authority. We will. Consider your request, human. But understand this. The Council rules absolutely in this galaxy. If you stay, you will follow our laws. Elena looked up at him with calm eyes. Of course, Admiral. We are peaceful people. We only fight when we have no other choice." The meeting continued for several more hours. Elena answered their questions carefully, revealing just enough to intrigue them, but not enough to alarm them. She spoke of humanity's journey through space, their advanced technology, their desire for peace, but she did not tell them about the war that had driven humanity from their home. She did not mention the devourers that consumed entire civilizations. She did not explain that every human aboard the Defiance was a veteran of battles beyond their imagination. When the meeting ended, Elena returned to her shuttle. As she flew back to the Defiance, she reviewed everything she had learned. The Council was powerful but arrogant. They had ruled for so long that they had become lazy and weak. Their technology was advanced, but old, unchanged for thousands of years. Most importantly, she had planted seeds of doubt among them. Nexus now owed her his life and would argue for cooperation. The Etherian was fascinated by human knowledge and would push for more information sharing. Other minor races in the Council had heard about the magical healing and would demand access to human medical technology. The Council was beginning to fracture, exactly as Elena had planned. Back on the Defiance, Commander Chun met her in the shuttle. "Bei, how did it go, Captain?" Elena smiled as she walked toward the bridge. "Better than expected. They're going to tear themselves apart, arguing about us. While they argue, we gather intelligence and prepare for what's coming." "And what is coming, Captain?" Elena's smile faded as she looked out at the stars. "The Devourers found our trail, Chun. They're following us here. When they arrive, this whole galaxy is going to learn what real war looks like." 2 weeks after the first meeting, tensions between the Council members had grown worse. Some wanted to welcome the humans and learn from their technology. Others wanted to destroy the Defiance before it became a threat. The arguments grew louder. Each day, Admiral Zexhai decided to end the debate with a demonstration. If the humans were as dangerous as he feared, this would prove it. If they were weak, he could destroy them with honor. "Captain Vasquez," his message said, "the Council requests a cultural exchange. Send your finest warrior to our combat arena. We will send ours. Let our champions meet in honorable battle so we can understand each other better." Elena read the message on the bridge of the Defiance. Commander Chun shook his head. "It's obviously a trap, Captain. They want to see how we fight." "Of course they do," Elena replied. "The question is, what do we want them to see?" She walked to the ship's training deck, where her crew exercised and practiced combat skills. The humans aboard the Defiance were not ordinary people. They were the survivors of humanity's greatest war, soldiers who had fought impossible enemies, and lived to tell about it. Elena found Sergeant Maria Santos sparring with 3 other soldiers at once. Santos was small and quick, with dark hair tied back in a simple ponytail. Scars on her arms showed where metal and flesh had been joined together. Her eyes were the color of steel. "Santos," Elena called, "I have a job for you." Santos finished her sparring match by disabling all 3 opponents in under 30 seconds. She walked over to Elena, barely breathing hard. "What kind of job, Captain?" "The aliens want to test our strength. They're challenging us to single combat in their arena." Santos smiled, and it was not a pleasant smile. "What are they sending?" "Against me? Their greatest champion. A Veltar warrior named Krexthul. He's never lost a fight. He's 3 meters tall, weighs 300 kilograms, and can generate electric shocks with his body." "Sounds fun," Santos said. "Any special rules?" Elena handed her a datapad with information about the challenge. "Traditional Veltar combat. No weapons, no armor, fight until one cannot continue. They expect their champion to kill you quickly and terrify the rest of us." Santos read through the information, studying every detail about Veltar physiology and fighting techniques. "Captain, Do you want me to win or lose? Elena thought for a moment. I want you to teach them something important. Show them what humanity has become, but don't show them everything we can do. Understood, Captain. The arena was located on the Council's main station, a massive structure that orbited their capital world. Thousands of aliens gathered to watch the fight. They expected to see their champion destroy the small human female in minutes. The arena itself was a circular platform 50 meters across, surrounded by energy shields to protect the spectators. Weapon scanners made sure no fighter brought Forbidden's tools into the ring. Krexthil entered first, and the crowd roared with approval. He was enormous, a reptilian giant with blue-black scales and yellow eyes. His muscles bulged under his thick skin. Electric sparks danced between his clawed fingers. He had killed dozens of opponents in this arena over the years. Then Sergeant Santos walked out to face him. The alien crowd fell silent. Santos looked tiny compared to the massive Veltar champion. She wore simple gray clothes and soft boots. Her hands were empty. She looked around the arena calmly, as if she was taking a walk in a park. Admiral Zex High stood in the royal box, overlooking the arena. Begin, he commanded. Krexthil charged immediately, moving faster than something is. Size should be able to move. His claws reached for Santos, crackling with electric energy that could stop a person's heart. Not Santos was not there when the claws arrived. She had moved to the side with impossible speed, so fast that many spectators missed it completely. Krexthil's attack hit empty air. Before he could turn around, Santos was behind him, but she did not attack. She simply stood there, studying him. Krexthil spun around with a roar of anger. He swung his massive fist at Santos's head. Again, she was not where. The attack landed. This time she appeared above him, having jumped over his swing. For 5 minutes, this continued. Krexthil attacked with growing fury, using every technique he had learned in hundreds of battles. Santos avoided every attack, moving like water on stone. She never struck back. She just watched and learned. The alien crowd began to murmur. Nervously, how was this small human moving so fast? How did she know exactly where each attack would come from? Finally, Krexthil stopped attacking. He stood in the center of the arena, breathing heavily. Electric energy crackled all over his body. Stop running, coward, he shouted. Fight me. Santos tilted her head. You're tired already? We've barely started. Krexthil's eyes blazed with rage. He gathered all his bioelectric energy and released it in a massive blast that filled the entire arena with lightning. The energy was so powerful, it would have killed any normal person instant. The Santos stood in the middle of the electric storm, completely unharmed. The lightning flowed around her body and into the metal floor. Her enhanced nervous system absorbed the energy and converted it into useful power. When the lightning faded, Santos smiled. Is that all you have? Now it was her turn to attack. Santos moved faster than the eye could follow. She struck Krexthil in precise spots on his body, nerve clusters that controlled his muscles, pressure points that disrupted his balance, joints that locked his movement. Each strike was perfectly calculated. Her enhanced reflexes and combat. Computers analyzed his anatomy in real time, finding weaknesses that no normal person could detect. Krexthil tried to fight back, but his body no longer obeyed him. His left arm went numb. His right leg buckled. His vision blurred as Santos struck nerve bundles in his neck. The fight ended when Santos placed her hand gently on a specific spot at the base of Krexthil's skull. A massive warrior collapsed. Instantly, his body temporarily paralyzed by a precisely applied nerve strike. The arena was completely silent. Santos knelt beside the fallen champion and checked his pulse. He will be fine in about 10 minutes, she announced. No permanent damage. Then she did something that shocked everyone watching. She helped Krextel sit up and offered him water from her own bottle. "You fight with honor," she told him quietly. "In a fair fight, without my enhancements, you would have won easily." Krextel looked at her with new respect. "What are you?" He whispered. "I am what war made me," Santos replied. "My people have fought enemies that would terrify your nightmares. We adapted or died. I adapted." Admiral Zexhai's voice echoed through the arena. "The human is victorious. But this proves nothing. She may be enhanced, but she is only one soldier." Santos looked up at the Admiral's box. "Sir, with respect, I am not special among my people. Every human aboard our ship has similar modifications. We are all veterans of the same war." The implications of her words sank in slowly. The Defiance carried 40,000 humans. If they were all like Santos... Impossible. Admiral Zexhai muttered. Santos stood and bowed to Krextel. "Thank you for an honorable fight. I hope we can be friends instead of enemies." The big warrior struggled to his feet, his pride damaged, but his respect genuine. "What war?" he asked. "What enemy could force an entire species to become like you?" Santos looked sad for a moment. "Something that eats stars for food. Something that turns entire worlds into weapons. Something that has been hunting my people across the galaxy for 200 years. She turned to face the alien spectators. "We did not choose to become weapons. We chose to survive. There is a difference." As Santos left the arena, the aliens watched in stunned silence. They had expected to see their champion crush a weak human. Instead, they had witnessed something that challenged everything they thought. They knew about warfare and evolution. In the royal box, the council members argued in hushed voices. "She moved like lightning," whispered in Etherian. "Our best warriors could not match such speed." The way she analyzed his fighting style, added a Nexari scientist. It was like she had computers in her brain. "If all humans are like this," Admiral Zexhai said slowly, "then their ship is not just a warship. It is an army of 40,000 super soldiers." High Counselor Nexus, still grateful for his healing, spoke up. "Perhaps we should consider alliance instead of conquest. These humans might be valuable allies against external threats." "What external threats?" demanded Admiral Zexhai. "We have ruled this galaxy, unchallenged for millennia. Nothing can threaten U.S." But even as he spoke, long-range sensors on the edge of the galaxy were detecting strange energy signatures. Something big was moving through the dark space between star systems. Something that left dead worlds in its wake. The Devourers had found humanity's trail. Back on the Defiance, Santos reported to Captain Vasquez on the bridge. "How did it go?" Elena asked. "They're scared, Captain. They understand now that we're not ordinary refugees. But they don't understand what made us this way." Elena nodded. "Good. Fear will make them listen when we tell them the truth. And when the Devourers arrive, they'll understand why we had to become what we are." She looked out at the Council fleet. Surrounding them, so many ships, but all built for fighting other ships like themselves. None of them were designed for the kind of war that was coming. "How long do we have?" Santos asked. The first sign of trouble came from the outer rim worlds. 3 colonies stopped sending regular reports. When council ships went to investigate, they found empty space where planets used to be. Not destroyed planets, missing planets. As if they had never existed at all. Admiral Zexhai stood in the council's war room, staring at star charts that made no sense. "How do you make an entire planet disappear?" he asked his scientists. "We don't know, sir," replied the chief astronomer, a nervous Etherian whose light had dimmed with fear. "Our instruments show that the planets were there last month. Now there is nothing, not even debris. More reports came in daily. Ships vanishing without distress signals. Research stations going silent. Trade routes becoming empty corridors through space. The Council's intelligence service worked frantically to find answers. They suspected the humans were somehow responsible, but their surveillance of the Defiance showed no unusual activity. The human ship remained in the same position, making no aggressive moves. Then they made a breakthrough that changed everything. A Biesh, Council cyber warfare specialist named Vex Tai had been trying to break into human computer systems for weeks. The Defiance's security was unlike anything he had encountered. Layers upon layers of encryption that seemed to learn and adapt to his attacks. But Vex Tai was patient and clever. He found a small gap in their defenses, probably left there on purpose. When he finally broke through, he expected to find ship blueprints or weapon designs. Instead, he found humanity's history. The files were enormous. Thousands of years of human records, compressed into quantum storage devices. Vex Tai began reading, and within hours he was running to Admiral Zex Hai's office. "Sir," he gasped, "you need to see this immediately." Admiral Zex Hai read the stolen files in growing horror. The story they told was impossible, but the evidence was overwhelming. Humanity had not come from some distant galaxy looking for a new home. They were refugees from their own galaxy, running from an enemy so terrible that it had nearly wiped them out completely. The files called them the Devourers. According to human records, the Devourers appeared in humanity's galaxy about 200 years ago. No one knew where they came from or what they really were. They looked like massive living ships, each one the size of a small moon. But they were not ships. They were creatures. The Devourers fed on entire star systems. They would arrive at a solar system and begin consuming everything, planets, moons, asteroids, even the star itself. When they finished, nothing remained except empty space and the Devourers, now larger and hungrier than before. Humanity had tried to fight them at first. Earth's fleet was powerful, with thousands of warships and advanced technology. The war lasted 50 years and ended with humanity's complete defeat. Earth was consumed. Mars was consumed. Every human colony and space station was destroyed or abandoned. Only a few million humans escaped in a desperate evacuation fleet. For the past 150 years, humanity had been running. The Devourers followed them from galaxy to galaxy, always hunting, always consuming. Each time humans tried to settle somewhere new, the Devourers found them, and the chase began again. But running had changed humanity. Each generation grew stronger, faster, smarter. They developed technology that could adapt and evolve. They enhanced their bodies to survive in impossible conditions. They became living weapons because only living weapons could survive what was hunting them. The Defiance was not just a warship. It was an ark carrying the genetic patterns of every Earth species, the cultural knowledge of human civilization, and weapons designed to kill gods. Every human aboard was a volunteer who had chosen to keep fighting instead of fleeing to the dark. Between galaxies, Admiral Zex Hai read about human battles against enemies that consumed stars. He read about weapons that could crack planets open, and shields that could stop the explosion of suns. He read about humans who had been so modified by war that they were barely recognizable as the species they once were, and he read about the Devourers' feeding pattern. They would send scout ships ahead of the main swarm. The scouts would mark suitable star systems with special signals. Then the swarm would arrive and begin the harvest. According to the timeline in the files, Devourer scouts should arrive in this galaxy within months. Admiral Zex Hai called an emergency council meeting. For the first time in galactic history, every species leader attended personally instead of sending representatives. The war room was packed with aliens from across the galaxy. What you are about to hear will sound impossible, Admiral Zex-High began, but our intelligence services have confirmed every detail. He told them about humanity's true history, about the Devourers, about the coming invasion, about the fact that every missing colony had shown the same energy signatures found in human records of Devourer attacks. The room erupted in chaos. "Impossible," shouted a Korthax general. "Nothing could consume an entire planet." "We would have detected such creatures," insisted an Exari scientist. "The humans are lying to make us afraid," declared a Veltar commander. But High Counselor Nexus, who owed his life to human medicine, stood up slowly. "I have seen their technology work miracles. If they say something this terrible is coming, we should listen." Admiral Zex-High activated a holographic display showing the outer rim of the galaxy. Red markers indicated all the missing colonies. "And ships. The pattern is clear," he said. "Something is systematically destroying our outer territories. It matches exactly what the human records describe as Devourer scout activity." An Etherian scientist studied the display with growing alarm. "If this pattern continues, the scouts will reach our core worlds within 2 years. And if the main swarm follows, ... The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Admiral Zex-High looked around at the assembled leaders. "Captain Vasquez has requested another meeting. She says she has a proposal for us." The meeting took place aboard the Council flagship once again, but this time Captain Elena Vasquez was not alone. She brought Commander Chun and Sergeant Santos with her. Elena walked into the same intimidating chamber where she had first met the Council. But now the aliens looked at her with different eyes. They saw not a refugee seeking help, but a warrior who had survived the impossible. "Counselors," Elena began, "I assume you have learned the truth about my people by now." Admiral Zex-High's face was grim. "We know about the Devourers. We know what happened to your galaxy. The question is, what do you want from us?" Elena activated a small holographic projector. Images appeared in the air, star charts showing the Devourer approach. Routes, technical specifications for anti-Devourer weapons, tactical analyses of successful human defensive actions. "We want to help you survive," she said simply. "We have been fighting the Devourers for 2 centuries. We know their weaknesses. We know how to hurt them. What are you asking for in return?" High Counselor Nexus asked. Elena's expression grew. "Serious. Complete reorganization of galactic society. No more slavery. No more genocides of primitive species. No more ruling through fear and oppression." The chamber erupted in angry voices. "Unacceptable." Admiral Zex-High roared. "We will not surrender our authority to refugees." Elena waited for the noise to die down. Then she spoke in a voice that cut through the chaos like a blade. "Admiral, in 6 months, Devourer scouts will reach your core worlds. In 18 months, the main swarm will arrive. When that happens, your authority will matter exactly as much as the screaming of the billions who die." She gestured to the holographic images. "We have weapons that can kill Devourers. We have shields that can protect planets. We have tactical knowledge gained from 200 years of warfare. But we will only share this technology with allies, not masters." Counselor Nexus leaned forward. "What exactly are you proposing?" "A new galactic government based on cooperation instead of domination. Each species contributes according to their abilities. Military decisions made by those with actual combat experience. Resources shared equally among all members." Elena paused and looked directly at Admiral Zex-High. "And humanity takes command of all military forces during the war, because we are the only ones who know how to fight what is coming." The Admiral's face turned purple with rage. "Never. The Veltar Empire will not bow to inferior aliens." Elena's expression did not change. Then the Veltar Empire will be consumed, and its people will become food for creatures that eat stars. She turned to address all the council members. You have a choice. You can maintain your pride and face the Devourers with your outdated weapons and obsolete tactics. Or you can swallow your arrogance and learn from those who have survived the impossible. An Etherean floated forward, its bioluminescent, body pulsing with nervous energy. What guarantee do we have that humanity will not simply conquer us after the Devourers are defeated? Elena smiled sadly. Because conquest is what the old humanity might have done. We are not the same species that left Earth 200 years. Go. War changed us. We learned that survival requires cooperation, not domination. She activated another hologram, this one showing the interior of the Defiance. Our ship carries the genetic templates of 10,000 species from our home galaxy. Not just Earth species, alien species that we saved during our evacuation. We could have left them behind and made room for more humans. Instead, we chose to preserve life, even when it cost us dearly. The Council's decision came swiftly, but it came too late. Half the Council species agreed to Captain Vasquez's proposal. The Nexari, Etherians, and dozens of smaller races were willing to reorganize their society to survive the Devourer threat. They understood that their old ways would not work against an enemy that ate entire star systems. But the other half, led by Admiral Zexhai and the Veltar Empire, refused to surrender their power. They declared the humans to be liars and terrorists. They claimed the missing colonies were human attacks designed to frighten the Council into submission. We will capture their technology by force, Admiral Zexhai announced at an emergency war council. Once we control their weapons, we can destroy these so-called Devourers and maintain proper order in the galaxy. The Veltar fleet, supported by the militant Korthax and several other warrior species, moved to attack the Defiance. Over 8,000 warships surrounded the human vessel, their weapons charged and ready. Captain Elena Vasquez watched the approaching fleet from her bridge. She felt a deep sadness. These aliens were about to learn the same lesson humanity had learned 2 centuries ago, that pride and arrogance meant nothing when facing the impossible. Captain, Commander Chun reported, Admiral Zexhai is demanding our immediate surrender. He says we have 10 minutes to shut down our weapons and prepare for boarding. Elena looked at the tactical display. 8,000 ships against 1. In the old days, before the war, those would have been impossible odds. But the Defiance was not built in the old days. Open a channel to all ships, Elena ordered. Admiral Zexhai's face appeared on her main screen, along with dozens of other alien commanders. Behind them, she could see the bridges of their massive warships. Admiral, Elena said calmly, you are making a terrible mistake. In a few hours, Devourer scouts will arrive in this system. If you attack us now, you will face them alone. Enough. Lise, Zexhai roared. Your ship is surrounded. You cannot escape. Surrender now, or we will destroy you. Elena sighed. Admiral, I have tried to be patient with you. I have tried to explain what is coming, but you refuse to listen. She turned to her weapons officer. Mr. Torres, show them what they are really facing. The Defiance's hull began to change. Panels slid open to reveal weapon systems that the Council sensors had never detected. Energy readings spiked as power systems that had been hidden came online. But that was not the real surprise. Space began to tear open around the Defiance. Fold space ruptures appeared in perfect formation, each one exactly where Elena had planned. The Council fleet found themselves surrounded by portals that led to somewhere else. From each portal emerged a human warship. The Council had thought the Defiance was alone. They were wrong. Humanity's entire evacuation fleet had been hiding in fold space, waiting for this moment. 300 human ships materialized around the Council fleet. Each one was scarred by centuries of warfare. Each one carried weapons, designed to kill creatures the size of moons. Each one was crewed by veterans who had fought the impossible and won. The Council fleet suddenly found themselves outnumbered and outgunned by an enemy they had never seen coming. "Impossible, Admiral," Zexhai whispered. "Our sensors showed only one ship." Elana's voice echoed across every channel in the fleet. "Admiral, human technology is 200 years ahead of yours. We have been hiding in dimensions you don't know exist. We have weapons that work on principles your scientists haven't discovered yet." The human ships moved with perfect coordination, surrounding individual Council vessels without a single wasted motion. It was like watching a dance performed by machines, except these were living crews working with inhuman precision. "You have two choices," Elena continued. "Surrender now and join the fight against the real enemy, or be destroyed and leave this galaxy defenseless against the Devourers." Admiral Zexhai's face was pale with shock, but his pride would not let him surrender. "All ships attack. Destroy them all." The battle that followed lasted exactly 17 minutes. The Council ships fired with everything they had. Thousands of energy beams and missiles flew toward the human fleet. It should have been enough firepower to destroy a small planet. The human ships simply were not there when the attacks arrived. They moved through space like ghosts, phasing in and out of normal dimensions. Their hulls adapted to each weapon type, becoming immune to energy that had worked moments before. Their shields bent reality itself, creating pockets of space where the laws of physics worked differently. When the humans fired back, Council ships died. Human weapons did not just destroy their targets, they erased them. Ships vanished from existence as if they had never been built. Others were converted into pure energy that fed back into human power systems. Still others found their hulls transformed into substances that could not support life. Admiral Zexhai watched his mighty fleet dissolve around him. Ships that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years were swept aside like toys. His own flagship, the Hegemony's Pride, was surrounded by 3 human vessels, no larger than shuttles. "Surrender," Alana's voice said directly into his mind, transmitted by technology he could not understand. "Your crew does not have to die for your pride." The Admiral looked around his bridge. His officers stared at him with fear and desperate hope. These beings had followed him into battle, trusting his judgment. Now they would die because he had been too proud to listen. "All ships, cease fire," he ordered quietly. "We surrender." The shooting stopped immediately. Human ships moved alongside Council vessels, their crews already preparing to render aid to damaged ships and injured aliens. Elena opened communications to the entire fleet. "Council commanders, you have seen what human technology can do, but this was not meant to frighten you. It was meant to save your lives." She activated her long-range sensors and shared the data with every ship in the system. At the edge of detectability, massive energy signatures were approaching fast. "The Devourer scouts will arrive in 3 hours, Elena announced. "They travel faster than your ships and hit harder than your weapons. If you had destroyed us, you would be facing them with damaged vessels and depleted ammunition." Admiral Zexhai's voice was broken when he finally spoke. What are you?" Elena's reply was gentle but firm. "We are what you will become, if you survive long enough. War changes everything, Admiral. It makes you stronger, or it destroys you. Humanity chose to become stronger. But even as the human fleet prepared to defend the system, disaster was spreading across the galaxy. News of the Council fleet's defeat reached every world within hours. The aliens who had watched their supposedly invincible masters surrender to a few hundred human ships began to question everything they had been taught. On slave worlds, rebellions erupted as species that had been oppressed for millennia saw their chance for freedom. The powerful Veltar Empire found itself fighting civil wars on dozens of planets as subject races declared independence. Trade networks collapsed as merchant species refused to honor contracts with the defeated council. Military alliances dissolved as member species withdrew their support from the central government. In less than a day, the galactic civilization that had existed for thousands of years fell apart completely. High Counselor Nexus, aboard his personal ship, sent a desperate message to Elena. Captain Vasquez, our entire government is collapsing. Billions of beings are in chaos. How do we restore order? Elena's response was broadcast to every leader who would listen. You don't restore the old order. You build something better. She transmitted detailed plans for the new Galactic Confederation she had proposed. Democratic representation for all species. Resource sharing based on need rather than military power. Laws that protected the weak instead of serving the strong. The old galaxy was held together by fear, Elena explained. It only works until someone stronger comes along. The new galaxy will be held together by cooperation and mutual benefit. That will survive any enemy. Some species embraced the new system immediately. Others resisted and tried to maintain their independence. But as the Devourer scouts began attacking Outer Rim colonies, reality forced them to cooperate. The first scout was the size of a small moon, with skin that looked like living metal. It approached a mining colony of 2 million beings and began to feed. Elena led a mixed human-alien fleet to intercept it. The Council species watched in horror as their most powerful weapons bounced harmlessly off the creature's hide. Even concentrated fire from 50 battleships did no damage at all. Then the human ships opened fire. Their weapons worked on principles the aliens could not understand. Some attacked the creature's nervous system directly. Others disrupted the energy fields that held its massive body together. Still others simply erased portions of its matter from existence. The scout died, but not easily. It took 6 hours of constant bombardment before the creature finally stopped moving. When it was over, the mixed fleet had saved the mining colony. But everyone understood the truth. Without human weapons and tactics, the galaxy could not survive. More scouts arrived daily. Each one was different, adapted for specific types of consumption. Some ate planets, others fed on stars. A few consumed the life force of entire populations without touching their physical bodies. Dr. Elena Vasquez looked out the window of the space station and saw more alien ships than she had ever imagined. The Galactic Confederation space station was huge. Ships from hundreds of different worlds came and went every day. Some ships looked like giant flowers made of metal. Others were perfect spheres that glowed with soft light. A few looked like they were made from living crystal. Elena was nervous. Today was her first day working with aliens from across the galaxy. She had studied alien biology for years on Earth, but she had never actually worked with them before. Dr. Vasquez? A voice spoke behind her. She turned around and saw something that looked like a tall blue tree walking toward her. It had 6 arms and silver leaves instead of hair. This was Cathnine, a scientist from the planet Zenther. Yes, that's me, Elena said, trying not to stare. I am Cathnine. I will be working with you on the research ship Harmony's Edge. I have read your work on human biology. Very basic, but acceptable for a new species. Elena felt a little annoyed, but she smiled anyway. Thank you. I'm excited to learn about other species too. Cathnine made a sound like wind through leaves. Elena guessed this was laughter. You will find that all species in the galaxy follow the same rules. When things become difficult, performance gets worse. This is how life works everywhere. Humans will be no different. Before Elena could ask what he meant, another alien approached them. This one looked more like a human, but her skin was pale purple and her eyes were much larger. She moved very slowly and seemed sad. "I am Yila," the alien said in a soft voice. "I am an empathic counselor. I can feel the emotions of others. Right now, I can feel that you are nervous, Dr. Vasquez. This is normal for new crew members." "Nice to meet you, Yela," Elena said. "I am a little nervous. Everything here is so new." "You will learn," Yela said. "But remember, when stress comes, you must be careful. All species become weak when pressure increases. Your thinking will slow down. Your body will shake. You will make mistakes. This is why we have counselors like me, to help when the hard times come." Elena nodded, but something felt wrong about what Yila said. In her experience, pressure often made people work better, not worse. But maybe aliens were different. A loud voice came over the station speakers. "All crew members for the Harmony's Edge, please report to Docking Bay 7. Elena picked up her bags and followed Keth9 and Yila through the station. They passed many other aliens. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of what looked like living metal. A few seemed to be floating clouds of gas, held together by energy fields. "So many different species," Elena said. "Yes," Keth9 replied. "The Confederation has studied over 3,000 intelligent species. Each one is different in how they look, but all the same in how they act under stress. When things get hard, they all get worse at their jobs. The crystalline hive minds break apart. The gas floaters drift away from problems. The Zephyrians stop moving completely. It is the universal law of stress response." Eleni thought about her time in the Earth military before becoming a scientist. She remembered how soldiers often performed their best during the most dangerous moments. What about humans? "Have you studied how we react to stress?" "Of course," Keth9 said. "Your species was tested before joining the Confederation. Humans show standard stress degradation patterns. Nothing special. They reached Docking Bay 7. The Harmony's Edge was a beautiful ship. It was long and sleek, with smooth curves and large windows. Elena could see crew members already on board, preparing for their mission dot as they walked up. The ramp into the ship, Elena met Commander Marcus Chun. He was a tall human with short black hair and calm eyes. He had been in the Earth Space Force for 15 years before joining the Confederation. "Dr. Vasquez," Marcus said, shaking her hand. "Good to have another human on board. How are you feeling about your first mission?" "Excited," Elena said. Little nervous, but mostly excited." Marcus smiled. "I felt the same way on my first mission." "You'll do fine. Just remember, if things get tough out there, stay calm and follow protocol. The aliens have been doing this a lot longer than we have." Elena nodded, but again she felt like something was missing from what everyone was telling her. The ships. Captain was a being called Zortek. He looked like a huge crab made of dark blue metal. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together when he spoke. "Welcome aboard," Zortek said. "Our mission is simple. We go to the Kepler 442 system. Strange. Energy readings detected there. Probably nothing dangerous. We study, we record, we return. Easy mission for new crew members." Elena was assigned a small room near the science labs. As she unpacked her things, she thought about what everyone had told her about stress and performance. It didn't match her experience at all, she remembered. Her final exams in college. The more pressure she felt, the more focused she became. She remembered her military training, where the hardest exercises brought out her best performance. She remembered emergency situations in her lab, where quick thinking under pressure had saved important experiments. But maybe she was wrong. Maybe she just didn't understand how stress really affected her. After all, these aliens had studied thousands of species. They must know what they were talking about. The ship left the station and jumped into hyperspace. Elena spent the first few days learning about her alien crewmates. She worked closely with Keth9 in the main lab. The Zenthari was very smart, but he worked very slowly. He wanted to check every measurement 3 times before moving on to the next step. Accuracy is most important, Keth9 explained. When pressure increases, mistakes happen. Better to work slowly and be right than work fast and be wrong. Elena also spent time with Yela. The empathic counselor was kind, but she seemed worried about everything. She constantly checked on crew members to make sure they weren't feeling too much stress. Stress is the enemy of good work, Yela told Elena. I can feel when crew members start to feel pressure. Their emotions become dark and confused. Their thoughts slow down. I must help them stay calm, or their performance will suffer. Elena met other crew members too. There was Builders Unit 7, a silicon-based life form that looked like a walking statue. It spoke in short, simple sentences and always followed exact procedures. There was also Mindweaver Shao, a telepathic being that could share thoughts with others of its species. Each species has evolved perfect responses to danger, Shao explained to Elena one day. When threat level increases, we retreat into ourselves. We become careful. We avoid mistakes. This is how survival works. Elena listened to all of this, but it still felt wrong to her. She decided to keep her thoughts to herself for now. She was new here, and these beings had much more experience than she did. On the 4th day of their journey, the ship dropped out of hyperspace near the Kepler 442 system. Elena joined the other scientists on the bridge to watch their approach. System looks normal, reported the navigation officer. A tall gray alien with 4 eyes. No signs of active technology. Energy readings coming from the 3rd planet. Captain Zortek nodded. Take us in slowly. Begin scans. Everything seemed routine. Elena watched the alien crew work with smooth efficiency. Each member knew exactly what to do. There was no rush, no excitement, just calm professional work. But as they got closer to the planet, Elena noticed something strange on the sensor readings. The energy patterns weren't random. They looked almost like a code or signal. Captain, she said, those energy readings, they might not be natural. Zortek looked at her readings. Interesting observation, Dr. Vasquez. But let us not jump to conclusions. We will investigate properly when we arrive. Elena nodded, but something in her gut told her this mission might not be as simple as everyone thought. The Harmony's edge moved slowly toward the 3rd planet in the Kepler 442 system. Elena stood on the bridge, watching the main screen. What they had thought was an empty planet was turning out to be something very different. Captain, called out the sensor operator, a floating jellyfish-like alien named Drifter Prime. I'm detecting massive artificial structures on the planet's surface. These are not natural formations. Captain Zortek's metal shell made clicking sounds. Elena had learned this meant he was worried. Show me the readings. The main screen changed to show the planet's surface. Where they expected to see empty rock and dirt, there were huge metal towers reaching into the sky. Strange geometric patterns covered the ground for hundreds of miles. Everything was dark and silent, but the energy readings were getting stronger. This is clearly an ancient civilization, Keth9 said, his silver leaves rustling with excitement. We must proceed with extreme caution. Unknown alien technology can be very dangerous. Commander Marcus Chun stepped forward. Captain, I recommend we maintain a safe distance while we study these structures. We don't know what we're dealing with. Elena was studying the energy patterns on her scanner. Something about them seemed familiar, but she couldn't figure out what. The energy signatures are very complex, she said. It's almost like they're waiting for something. Suddenly, alarms started ringing throughout the ship. The lights on the bridge turned red. Elena felt the ship shake slightly. "What's happening?" Captain Zortek demanded. "Unknown energy field detected," Drifter Prime reported, his voice shaking. "It appeared around our ship in less than 1 second. I cannot understand how it moved so fast." On the main screen, Elena could see faint blue lines of energy surrounding their ship like a cage. The lines were slowly getting brighter and moving closer together. "Try to back away from the planet," Zortek ordered. The ship's engines roared to life, but nothing happened. The energy field held them in place like a giant hand. "We cannot move," reported the navigation officer. "The field is too strong. It's also draining our power systems." Elena watched her crewmates and saw exactly what Yila and Keth9 had told her about. As the stress level increased, the aliens began to perform worse, not better. Keth9 started checking and rechecking the same sensor readings over and over again. His movements became very slow and careful. "I must be absolutely certain of these measurements," he said. "Under stress, mistakes are more likely. I cannot afford to be wrong." Yila sat down heavily in her chair. Her purple skin had turned almost white. "I can feel everyone's fear," she whispered. "It's overwhelming. The emotions are so strong I can barely think clearly." Builders Unit 7 stood completely still. "Emergency protocol requires full stop of all non-essential activities," it announced. "I must wait for clear orders before proceeding." Even Captain Zortek seemed affected. His normally quick decisions became long discussions with his officers. "We must consider all options carefully," he kept saying. "Hasty actions under pressure lead to disaster." But something strange was happening to Elena and Marcus. Instead of becoming slower and more careful like the aliens, they both felt more alert and focused than before. Elena's mind was racing, but in a good way. She found herself making connections between the energy patterns and things she had studied years ago. Her hands moved quickly across her control panel, analyzing data faster than she ever had before. "Marcus," she called out, "look at these energy readings. They're not random. There's a pattern here." Marcus came over to her station. Elena noticed that he was moving differently than the alien crew members. While they had become slow and hesitant, he was moving with quick, precise movements. His eyes were bright and focused. "You're right," Marcus said, studying her screen. "It's almost like a scanning pattern. Like the energy field is testing us somehow." "Testing us for what?" Elena asked, but even as she said it, ideas were forming in her mind. The stress of their situation wasn't making her think worse. It was making her think better. Meanwhile, the energy field continued to tighten around their ship. The power levels dropped another 10%. "We're losing life support," reported the chief engineer, a slug-like alien named Slow Mover. "At this rate, we have maybe 6 hours before systems fail completely." Captain Zortek gathered his senior officers. "We need solutions," he said, "but we must be very careful. Rush decisions under stress have destroyed many ships." The alien officers began a long, slow discussion about different options. Each idea was examined from every possible angle. They talked about sending a distress signal, about trying to overload their engines, about attempting to communicate with whoever built the energy field. Elena watched this meeting and felt frustrated. They were taking too much time. She could see patterns in the data that the aliens were missing. But every time she tried to speak up, one of the aliens would say, "Slow down, Dr. Vasquez. Pressure makes us miss important details." But pressure wasn't making Elena miss details. It was helping her see details she had never noticed before. The energy field wasn't just a trap. It was a test. The patterns in the energy were like a code, and she was starting to understand what it meant. Marcus seemed to be having the same experience. While the alien crew became more and more paralyzed by the stress of their situation, he was becoming more active and decisive. "Elena," he said quietly, "I think I know what this is. These structures on the planet, they're not just ruins. They're still active. And they're looking for something specific." "What do you mean?" Elena asked, though. She was starting to have the same idea. "Think about it," Marcus said, speaking faster now as his mind worked through the problem. "An ancient civilization builds a massive test. They capture any ship that comes near. They scan the crew, study how they react under pressure. Most species would respond exactly like our alien crewmates are responding right now." Elena felt a chill of understanding. "But we're not responding like that." "No, we're not," Marcus said. "While everyone else is getting slower and more careful, we're getting faster and more creative." What if that's exactly what this test is looking for? The energy field tightened again. The ship shook more violently. Several alien crew members cried out in fear. Yila stood up suddenly, her large eyes fixed on Elena and Marcus. "Something is wrong," she said. "I can feel your emotions, and they don't match what I'm seeing." "What do you mean?" Elena asked. "You should be afraid," Yila said. "You should be confused and slow like the rest of us. But instead, you both feel excited, focused, like this danger is making you stronger instead of weaker." Keth9 looked up from his sensor station. "That is impossible," he said. "No species performs better under stress. It goes against all biological principles." But Elena knew Yila was right. The more dangerous their situation became, the clearer her thinking got. Ideas and solutions were coming to her faster than ever before. She could see connections and patterns that had been invisible to her just an hour ago. Marcus was having the same experience. "Elena, I need you to look at the energy patterns again. But this time, don't just analyze them as data. Think of them as a language. What if whoever built this is trying to communicate with us?" Elena turned back to her scanner with fresh eyes. The energy field that trapped their ship wasn't just holding them. It was sending information. Complex mathematical sequences, star charts, even what looked like biological data. "Oh my God," Elena whispered. "Marcus, you're right. This isn't just a trap. It's a message, and I think it's a test to see if anyone can read it while." Under extreme pressure, the ship shook again. More alarms sounded. The alien crew members were now barely functional, paralyzed by fear and the stress of their situation. But Elena and Marcus were just getting started. "Run a full analysis on those mathematical sequences," Marcus said. "I'll work on the star charts. If we can decode this message, we might be able to shut down the energy field," Elena finished. They worked together with an intensity that surprised even them. Elena's fingers flew across her control panel. Her mind made connections between alien mathematics and human logic that she never could have seen under normal circumstances. Marcus studied the star charts with perfect focus. He was processing information faster than he ever had in his life, finding patterns and meanings in data that would normally take hours to analyze. The other crew members watched them with growing amazement. "How are they doing that?" Keth9 asked. "Under this level of stress, they should barely be able to think at all." "I don't understand it either," Yila said. "Their emotional signatures are unlike anything I've ever felt. Instead of breaking down under pressure, they're becoming more than they were before." Elena looked up from her work for a moment and saw the wonder in her alien crewmate's eyes. For the first time, she realized that what was happening to her and Marcus truly was unusual. They weren't just handling the stress well. They were thriving on it. "Almost got it," Marcus called out. "The star charts are showing us a path through the galaxy." Elena, how are you doing with the math? It's incredible, Elena said, her voice filled with excitement despite their dangerous situation. These equations aren't just mathematical theory. They're instructions for technology we can barely imagine. And I think the energy field around the Harmony's edge was now so bright it hurt to look at directly. Elena could feel the ship's hull starting to bend under the pressure. Warning lights flashed red throughout the bridge. The air itself seemed to vibrate with dangerous energy. Hull stress at critical levels, reported the chief engineer. We have maybe 30 minutes before the ship breaks apart. Elena looked around at her alien crewmates. They were in worse shape than ever. Kef9 had stopped working completely and was just staring at his scanner readings without moving. Yila was curled up in her chair, overwhelmed by everyone's fear. Builders Unit 7 had shut down all its non-essential functions and stood like a statue. Even Captain Zortek seemed frozen. I don't know what to do, he admitted. Every option seems too dangerous. What if we make things worse? But Elena felt amazing. Her mind was working faster and clearer than it ever had before. The pressure that was crushing her alien friends was making her stronger and smarter. She could see solutions everywhere she looked. Marcus, she called out, I've decoded part of the message. It's not just mathematics. It's a history lesson. Marcus looked up from his station. Like Elena, he seemed energized by their dangerous situation. His movements were quick and precise. His eyes were bright and focused. What kind of history? The species that built this. They called themselves the architects, Elena said, her fingers dancing across her control panel as she pulled up more data. They spent millions of years looking for something very specific. The ship shook violently. More systems failed. The alien crew members whimpered in fear, but Elena barely noticed. The stress was pushing her mind into a state she had never experienced before. It was like every part of her brain was working together perfectly. She could process information, make connections, and solve problems all at the same time. They were looking for a species that could think better under pressure, she continued. Every other race they found became weaker when things got dangerous. But the architects believed that somewhere in the galaxy there had to be a species that was different. Marcus's eyes widened with understanding. A species that got stronger when things got tough. Exactly, Elena said. And this whole system is a test, the energy field, the pressure, the time limit ... It's all designed to push any visiting species to their breaking point and see how they respond. Suddenly, new alarms started ringing. Elena looked at her scanner and saw something that made her heart race with excitement instead of fear. Marcus, look at this, she said. The planet is launching something. Multiple objects heading our way. On the main screen, they could see dozens of small ships rising from the planet's surface. They moved with impossible speed and precision, forming a perfect circle around the Harmony's edge. Hunter-killer drones, Captain Zortek said in a voice full of defeat. We cannot fight them. We cannot run. It is over. The alien crew members gave up completely. Some of them started crying. Others just sat in their chairs and waited for the end. But Elena felt a surge of energy that surprised even her. This wasn't the end. This was exactly what she and Marcus needed to solve the puzzle. No, Captain, she said, standing up from her station. This is perfect, don't you see? The architects aren't trying to kill us. They're giving us the final test. Marcus understood immediately. The drones aren't attacking yet. They're waiting for something. Elena's mind was racing through possibilities faster than she could speak. The stress of their situation had unlocked something in her brain that she never knew existed. She could see patterns and connections that seemed impossible. The mathematical sequences I decoded, she said, they're not just instructions. They're a language. And I think I know how to speak it. She turned back to her control panel and began entering a complex series of commands. Her fingers moved so fast, they were almost a blur. Marcus watched her work with amazement. "How are you doing that?" he asked. "I don't know," Elena said honestly. "But the more dangerous this gets, the clearer everything becomes. It's like my brain is running at maximum capacity for the first time in my life." Meanwhile, Marcus was having his own breakthrough. He was studying the positions of the hunter-killer drones and seeing tactical possibilities that would never have occurred to him under normal circumstances. "Elena, the drones aren't in random positions," he said. "They're forming geometric patterns. And those patterns match some of the symbols in the architect language you decoded." Elena looked up from her work and saw that Marcus was right. The drones had arranged themselves into complex three-dimensional shapes around their ship. Each shape corresponded to symbols in the architect message. "They're not trying to kill us," she realized. "They're trying to communicate with us." But only someone who could think clearly under extreme pressure would be able to see the pattern. The energy field tightened again. The ship's hull groaned under the stress. Systems failed one after another. In a few more minutes, the Harmony's edge would be completely destroyed. But Elena and Marcus were just hitting their stride. "I've got it," Elena announced. "The architects left this test because they were looking for a species that could inherit their technology, but not just any species. A species that could handle the responsibility of advanced technology, even under the worst possible circumstances." She began transmitting a response using the mathematical language she had decoded. Her message was complex and beautiful, showing the architects that not only did she understand their test, but that she could think creatively and solve problems. Even while her ship was being destroyed around her, Marcus coordinated with her, using the ship's navigation systems to move them into position to complete the geometric pattern the drones had started. It required perfect timing and incredible precision. All while their ship was falling apart, the alien crew members watched in stunned silence. Yila spoke first. "I can feel their emotions," she whispered. "They're not afraid at all. If anything, they happy. Excited. The worse things get, the stronger they become." Keth9 stared at his sensor readings in disbelief. "Their brain activity is off the charts," he said. "Under this level of stress, they should be barely conscious. Instead, they're operating at levels I didn't think were possible." Elena completed her mathematical response and sent it to the planet. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the energy field around their ship began to change. Instead of crushing them, it started to support them. The hunter-killer drones moved into new positions, creating an even more complex pattern. But now Elena could read the pattern like a book. "They're pleased with our response," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "But this isn't over. There's one more test." The main screen lit up with new information. The architects were showing them a series of problems that had to be solved simultaneously. Each problem was incredibly complex, requiring advanced mathematics, creative thinking, and perfect coordination between multiple people. "This is impossible," Captain Zortek said. "No one could solve all of these at once." But Elena was already working on the first problem while Marcus tackled the second. Their minds were operating in perfect sync, each building on what the other discovered. The pressure of the situation had pushed them into a mental state that neither had ever experienced before. Elena found herself solving mathematical equations that should have taken hours in just minutes. Marcus was processing tactical information and making strategic decisions faster than any computer. Together, they were accomplishing things that should have been impossible for any individual, or even any team. The alien crew members could only watch in amazement as the two humans worked through problem after problem. Each solution unlocked the next level of the test. Each success brought them closer to passing the architect's ultimate challenge. How are they doing this? Builders Unit 7 asked, its mechanical voice filled with confusion. This level of performance under stress violates all known biological principles. Yila was monitoring Elena and Marcus's emotional states. I've never felt anything like this, she said. Instead of breaking down, their minds are becoming more integrated, more powerful. It's as if stress is fuel for their brains instead of poison. Elena looked up from her work for just a moment and smiled at her alien friends. Maybe that's because we evolved differently, she said. On Earth, the only way to survive was to get better when things got worse. Pressure doesn't break us. It makes us stronger. Then she turned back to the final problem. It was the most complex challenge yet, requiring everything she and Marcus had learned plus intuitive leaps that seemed impossible. But the stress of their situation had unlocked abilities in both of them that they never knew they had. Working together, thinking faster and more clearly than ever before, they began to solve the architect's final test. The final test from the architects appeared on every screen throughout the ship. Elena looked at it and felt her heart pound with excitement rather than fear. The challenge was enormous. 7 different problems that had to be solved at exactly the same time. One problem required understanding ancient alien physics. Another needed complex mathematical calculations about space and time. A third demanded creative solutions to engineering problems that had never been seen before. The remaining 4 were even more difficult, combining art, science, logic, and intuition in ways that seemed impossible. Captain Zortek looked at the problems, and his metal shell turned a darker color. These cannot be solved by any crew, he said. Each problem would take our best scientists months to understand. To solve them all at once, it is not possible. The alien crew members were exhausted from hours of stress. Keth9 could barely hold his head up. His silver leaves had turned dull gray. I cannot even read these problems clearly, he admitted. My mind is too tired from all the pressure. Yila was sitting in a corner, overwhelmed by everyone's emotions. I can feel despair. From the crew, she whispered. Everyone has given up hope. Everyone except ... She looked at Elena and Marcus with amazement. After hours of extreme stress, both humans looked more alert and focused than when they had started. Their eyes were bright. Their movements were quick and precise. Instead of being worn down by the pressure, they seemed energized by it. This is fascinating, Elena said, studying the first problem. Look at these physics equations, Marcus. They're not using the same mathematical principles we. No? But if I apply pressure-based thinking, Marcus was already working on the second problem. The engineering challenge makes more sense if you assume they were building under extreme conditions, he said. Like they expected everything to go wrong and designed for maximum stress. Elena felt something happening in her mind that had never happened before. The stress of their situation was causing different parts of her brain to work together in new ways. She could think logically and creatively at the same time. She could solve mathematical problems while also making intuitive leaps about alien psychology. Marcus, I think I understand something important, she said. The architects didn't just want to find a species that could think under pressure. They wanted to find a species that thought better under pressure. Marcus looked up from his work. What do you mean? Look at these problems, Elena said. They're not just difficult. They're designed to be impossible unless you can use stress as a tool instead of fighting against it. She turned to the first problem and began working with an intensity that amazed even her. Her mind was operating on multiple levels simultaneously. She was solving equations, making creative connections, and understanding alien concepts all at the same time. Marcus joined her, working on the second problem with the same incredible focus. Together, they began to tackle challenges that would have been impossible for any individual and extremely difficult even for a large team of specialists. The alien crew members watched in stunned silence as the two humans worked through problem after problem. Each solution seemed to come faster than the last. "Their brain activity is beyond anything I have ever measured," Kef9 reported, checking his medical scanner. "They are using parts of their minds that most species cannot access even under perfect conditions." Yila was monitoring their emotional states. "I don't understand what I'm feeling from them," she said. "They should be exhausted and overwhelmed. Instead, they seem to be drawing energy from the stress itself." Elena was working on the third problem when she made a breakthrough that surprised even her. "Marcus, this isn't just about solving problems," she said. "The architects are teaching us something. Each problem we solve reveals part of their history and technology." Marcus looked at his own work with new understanding. "You're right. The engineering problem I just solved. It showed me how they built machines that could repair themselves under any conditions. Even if everything went wrong, their technology could adapt and survive." Elena felt her mind expanding as she worked through the fourth problem. The stress of their situation was pushing her thinking into areas she had never explored before. She was making connections between art and science, between logic and emotion, between human experience and alien knowledge. "I think I understand why the architects disappeared," she said suddenly. "They didn't die out. They evolved beyond the need for physical bodies. But first, they wanted to leave their knowledge for a species that could handle it. A species that wouldn't break under pressure," Marcus added, solving the fifth problem with a series of intuitive leaps that amazed him. "A species that would use their technology wisely, even in the worst possible situations." The ship around them was still falling apart. Alarms continued to sound. The energy field continued to tighten. But Elena and Marcus seemed unaffected by any of it. If anything, each new crisis made them think more clearly and work more effectively. Elena tackled the sixth problem, which required understanding alien art forms and translating them into mathematical concepts. Under normal circumstances, this would have taken her weeks of careful study, but with her mind operating at maximum capacity, she solved it in minutes. The art isn't just decoration, she realized. It's a mathematical language that describes how reality works at the deepest level. They combined beauty and science into something completely new. Marcus was working on the seventh and final problem. It was the most complex of all, requiring everything they had learned from the previous 6 problems, plus new insights that seemed to come from nowhere. "Elena, this last one, it's not just a problem to solve," he said. "It's a question they're asking us. They want to know if we're ready for what they're offering." Elena looked at the final problem and understood immediately. The architects weren't just testing their ability to solve difficult challenges. They were asking if humanity was ready to inherit knowledge and technology that could change the galaxy forever. Working together, Elena and Marcus approached the final problem with everything they had learned. They combined human intuition with alien logic, earthly experience with galactic knowledge, individual creativity with perfect teamwork. The solution came to them both at the same moment. It was beautiful and complex and simple all at once. It showed the architects that humans not only could handle advanced technology, but that they would use it to help others, to explore new possibilities, and to grow beyond their current limitations. Elena entered the final solution into the system. For a moment, everything was silent. The alarm stopped. The energy field stopped pulsing. Even the ship's engines went quiet. Then the main screen lit up with a message in perfect human language. "Congratulations. You have passed the test that 10,000 species have failed. You have shown that pressure makes you stronger instead of weaker. You have proven that stress enhances your abilities instead of limiting them. You are worthy to inherit what we have left behind." The energy field around their ship changed from a prison into a gateway. The hunter-killer drones moved into new positions, creating a path toward the planet. Information began flowing into the ship's computers. Scientific knowledge, technological blueprints, philosophical insights that had taken the architects millions of years to develop. Elena and Marcus looked at each other with wonder and exhaustion. The incredible mental state they had been in was beginning to fade as the immediate pressure decreased. But they both knew something important had happened. Did we really just do that? Marcus asked. Elena nodded, looking at the vast amount of knowledge now available to them. We did, but I think the most important thing we discovered isn't about the architects or their technology. What do you mean? Marcus asked. Elena looked around at their alien crewmates, who were slowly recovering from the stress of the past few hours. We learned something about ourselves, about what humans can do when everything is on the line. Captain Zortek approached them, his metal shell gleaming with amazement. Dr. Vasquez, Commander Chun, what you accomplished today will change everything. The Confederation has never seen anything like this. Keth 9 was already analyzing the data from their experience. The readings from your brain activity during the test. They challenge every scientific principle we know about stress and performance. Yila looked at Elena and Marcus with new respect. I felt your emotions throughout the entire test, she said. You weren't just surviving the pressure. You were using it to become more than you were before. Elena smiled tiredly. Maybe that's what makes humans different. We don't see pressure as something to avoid. We see it as something that brings out our best. As the Harmony's Edge began its journey toward the planet to collect the architects' legacy, Elena realized that they had discovered something more valuable than ancient technology. They had learned that humans had a unique gift, the ability to grow stronger when everything seemed impossible. And she suspected that this gift would change not just their own future, but the future of the entire galaxy. 3 months later, Elena stood before the largest gathering of alien scientists in galactic history. Representatives from over 1,000 species had come to Confederation, central to hear about what happened in the Kepler 442 system. The great assembly hall was filled with beings of every shape and size imaginable. Elena looked out at the audience and felt nervous for the first time since their mission. Speaking to crowds had never been easy for her. But as she began to feel the familiar pressure of being watched by so many eyes, something interesting happened. Her nervousness changed into focus. Her fear became energy. Honored members of the Confederation, Elena began, what we discovered changes everything we thought we knew about stress and performance. She activated the holographic display behind her. It showed recordings from their mission, brain scans, emotional readings, performance measurements from both human and alien crew members during the crisis. For millions of years, the galaxy has operated under one basic rule, Elena continued. When pressure increases, performance decreases. Every known species follows this pattern, until now. A voice called out from the audience. It was Dr. Klixvar, one of the most respected scientists in the Confederation. Dr. Vasquez, we have reviewed your data many times. The readings from your human crew members appear to be impossible. Surely there was an error in the equipment. Elena smiled. She had expected this question. That's what we thought too, Dr. Klixvar. But we've since conducted over 50 controlled tests with human volunteers. The results are always the same. She changed the display to show new data from recent experiments. When humans face increasing stress, their brain activity doesn't decrease like other species. Instead, different parts of their brains start working together in ways that normally never happen. Marcus stepped forward to join her. The technical term we've developed is pressure-enhanced cognitive integration, he said. Under stress, human minds don't fragment or slow down. They become more unified and faster. The audience erupted in discussion. Aliens spoke to each other in hundreds of different languages. The translation systems worked overtime to keep up with all the conversations. Dr. Klicksvar spoke again. Even if this is true, it makes no evolutionary sense. Why would any species develop such a response? Elena had spent months thinking about this question. Because humans evolved on what you would call a death world, she explained. Earth is more dangerous than most planets that produce intelligent life. Earthquakes, storms, predators, disease, climate changes, everything on Earth was constantly trying to kill our ancestors. She showed images of Earth's history on the display. Volcanoes erupting, massive storms, ice ages, asteroid impacts. Most species evolve on stable worlds where the best response to danger is to be very careful and avoid mistakes, Marcus added. But on Earth, being careful and slow meant death. Our ancestors had to learn to think faster and better when things got dangerous, or they didn't survive. A new voice spoke from the audience. It was High Counselor Zephyr 9, leader of the Confederation Science Council. Dr. Vasquez, Commander Chun, are you suggesting that humans are somehow superior to other species? Elena shook her head quickly. Not superior. Different. Every species has evolved amazing abilities. The Xanthari are incredibly precise and logical. The empathics can understand emotions in ways we never could. The crystalline hive minds can process information simultaneously in ways that amaze us. We're not better than anyone else. We're just different. But your difference is very significant, High Counselor Zephyr 9 observed. If humans truly perform better under pressure, this has enormous implications for the Confederation. Elena nodded. We've already seen some of those implications. In the 3 months since our mission, human teams have been called in to help with 17 different crisis situations across the galaxy. The display showed a list of recent missions. Humans had helped repair a failing space station during a solar storm. They had rescued miners trapped in a collapsing asteroid. They had solved a diplomatic crisis between two species that had been fighting for centuries. In every case, Marcus explained, the situation was considered hopeless by normal standards. Other species had tried and failed. But human teams were able to succeed because the pressure of the situation made them think and work better, not worse. Dr. Klicksvar was studying the data carefully. These results are remarkable, he admitted, but I still find it difficult to accept. Perhaps you could demonstrate this pressure response for us? Elena and Marcus looked at each other and smiled. They had prepared for this request. We'd be happy to, Elena said, but we'll need volunteers from the audience to verify that we're not cheating somehow. Several alien scientists came forward to monitor the demonstration. They attached sensors to Elena and Marcus to measure their brain activity, heart rate, stress hormones, and other biological functions. The demonstration was simple but effective. Elena and Marcus were given a series of increasingly difficult problems to solve while conditions around them became more and more stressful. Loud noises, flashing lights, time pressure, competing demands for their attention. The alien monitors watched in amazement as every measurement confirmed what the mission reports had claimed. As stress levels increased, Elena and Marcus didn't slow down or make more mistakes. Instead, they worked faster, more accurately, and more creatively than before. Impossible, whispered one of the monitors. Their brain activity is increasing with stress, not decreasing. They're using neural pathways that most species can't access even under perfect conditions. By the end of the demonstration, even the most skeptical scientists in the audience had to accept the evidence. Humans really were different. Pressure really did make them perform better instead of worse. High Counselor Zephyr 9 stood up to address the assembly. Fellow beings, she sighed, we are witnessing something that has never been documented in galactic history. A species that grows stronger under pressure instead of weaker. The audience was completely silent now. Everyone understood the importance of what they were hearing. This discovery will require us to completely rethink how we approach dangerous situations, the High Counselor continued. For too long, we have avoided pressure and stress, thinking them harmful to performance. Perhaps it is time to learn from our human colleagues? Elena felt proud, but also a little worried. High Counselor, we hope this discovery will be used to help everyone in the galaxy. Humans are happy to assist with dangerous missions, but we don't want to become the galaxy's only crisis response team. Of course not, the High Counselor replied. But you must understand the significance of what you represent. The architects chose correctly when they decided humans were worthy of their legacy. Your species has a gift that could benefit everyone. Over. The following weeks, news of the discovery spread throughout the galaxy. The story was told and retold on every world. Some species were amazed. Others were skeptical. A few were concerned about what it meant for the balance of power in the galaxy. But gradually, a new understanding began to emerge. Humans weren't trying to take over or prove their superiority. They were simply offering to help in situations where their unique abilities could make a difference. Elena found herself assigned to a new ship called the Rising Pressure. It was specifically designed for missions that other species couldn't handle. The crew was mixed, humans to handle the high-stress situations, and aliens to provide their own unique skills and perspectives. On her first mission aboard the Rising Pressure, Elena worked with a team to stop a runaway artificial intelligence that was threatening an entire star system. The situation was so dangerous that normal Confederation protocols called for evacuating the entire system and letting the AI burn itself out. But Elena and her human teammates thrived under the extreme pressure. They found creative solutions that no one else had thought of. They took risks that other species wouldn't dare attempt. And they succeeded in stopping the AI without losing a single life. After the mission, Elena's alien teammates looked at her with new understanding. I have worked on crisis response teams for 30 years, said her Xanthari colleague. I have never seen anything like what you humans can do. It is not just that you work well under pressure. You become something more than yourselves. Elena smiled. Maybe that's what pressure is for. Not to break us down, but to help us discover what we're really capable of. Word of human achievements continued to spread. Young beings across the galaxy began studying human psychology and stress responses. Some species even began experimenting with controlled pressure situations to see if they could develop similar abilities. But the most important change was in how the galaxy thought about challenges and crises. Instead of seeing pressure as something to avoid, many species began to see it as an opportunity to discover new possibilities. Elena often thought about the architects and their ancient test. They had been looking for a species that could handle their advanced technology responsibly, even under the worst possible conditions. They had found that species in humanity, but the real gift wasn't the technology they had left behind. It was the lesson they had taught. Pressure didn't have to be destructive. In the right hands, it could be creative. It could be transformative. It could reveal